Alright, let's talk about Connor Bedard. He was the subject of my last video, but this one is going to be a bit different. Today, I'm going to be analyzing the same game where Bedard scored his first hat-trick of the season, using the only math I've ever enjoyed using, statistics. But first, let me explain what things I track when I'm watching a player. Every event that I track is in one of the four following categories: possession, shooting, passing, and transition. My possession data tracks which team is controlling the puck more when a player is on the ice. Keep track of every shot attempt for both teams, breaking them down into low danger shot attempts and medium or high danger shot attempts. For now, I'm lumping medium and high danger shot attempts together as it is a lot easier that way, but in future seasons, I will certainly have a specific category for each one. I also track how many shot attempts each team creates on the rush, but I feel this is probably the least important thing I track. I already take into account rush chances when determining whether or not a shot attempt could be considered medium or high danger, so this information is a bit redundant. Still nice to have though. That's it for possession data though, so let's move on to passing and shooting, which I will lump together here. My shooting data is pretty simple. I track how many shot attempts an individual skater takes, how many of them made it on goal, and how many were from medium or high danger areas. There are a number of statistics that I calculate post-game, such as medium and high danger shot attempt percentage, which is simply the percentage of their shot attempts that were from medium or high danger areas of the ice. I do not factor in whether or not a shot attempt was blocked or missed the net when determining if it can be considered medium or high danger. I understand the added value doing so would give me, but I am more concerned about where players are choosing to shoot from in general. If a player is only shooting from the outside, that's a problem. The passing data is pretty similar. I track total pass attempts, breaking them down into passes to low danger areas and medium or high danger areas. Note that passes that go through medium or high danger areas still count, even if the target player is outside of those areas of the ice. A cross-ice pass is still a cross-ice pass. If the target elects to one-time that pass, that is still going to be a difficult save for the goalie, even if the player is technically outside of the dangerous areas, such as the slot. I also track how many shot assists a player gets, and how many of those are from high or medium danger areas. The same logic applies here, but note that a player only gets a shot assist if the pass recipient shoots the puck himself. No secondary assist nonsense or anything like that here. Finally, we get to the transition data. Things get a little bit messy here, so hang with me. I track team-controlled offensive zone transition attempts and successful transitions with the player on the ice. I do the same for the player, which gives me transition involvement percentages for both attempts and successful transitions. For example, let's say Omsky Krylia has 15 controlled offensive zone transition attempts with Gleb Trikazov on the ice, of which 13 are successful. Let's say Gleb was involved in 5 of the attempts, and he completed all 5. He would have a transition attempt involvement rate of 1/3 or 33%, but he would be involved in 5 of the 13 successful transitions, or about 38% of them. I'm looking for players who are both active and transition and efficient, so numbers like this would be pretty decent, at least in my opinion. For defensive zone breakouts, I tracked all the same events. Also, and this is very important, all stats that I track are for 5-on-5 only. There are some flaws in my dataset, as I don't really track anything that would measure things like defensive involvement, other than defensive zone transition involvement, but oftentimes players, forwards especially, can be highly involved in D-zone transitions, specifically because they aren't really playing defense, but instead are waiting for the puck to come to them so they can carry it up the ice. So that stat doesn't necessarily reflect on how defensively responsible a player is. In future seasons, I will look to improve my data collection, but for now, I believe that these are the absolute most important stats to track for draft-eligible players, so this is it for now. That being said, let's get into this Connor Bedard game. We'll start with the possession data. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. With Bedard on the ice, his team took 18 shot attempts and Moose Jaw took 13. A shot attempt differential of +5. Pretty decent. high and medium danger chances were more even, with the Pats collecting a 7-5 advantage here. Where things start to get interesting is when you look at the passing and shooting data combined with the possession data. Remember how I said Bedard's team took 18 shot attempts with him on the ice? Yeah, Bedard took 11 of them. Of those 11, 4 were from high or medium danger areas. In addition, he recorded 4 shot assists, 2 of which were from high or medium danger areas. What this means is that Bedard was directly involved in 15 of the 18 shot attempts the team took with him on the ice, and 6 of the 7 medium and high danger shot attempts they took with him on the ice. Again, this is all for 5-on-5 data only. These numbers are ridiculous, and quite frankly, it is possible I missed some shot attempts, which are inflating Bedard's involvement a little bit here. I am pretty confident in my work, but these numbers are kinda too good to be true. In any case, I'll be doing a lot more games with Bedard as the season goes on, so if this game is an outlier, which it most certainly is, even with some human error, his numbers should revert to the mean, so I should have a more realistic look at his data by the end of the season. I would also say that this was just the second game of the season. Moose Jaw was missing some key players like Jagger Firkus, and the overall play was pretty sloppy. These factors could also be contributing to Bedard's dominating numbers. I already touched a little on Bedard's passing, but let's go over his passing data in more depth. In total, he attempted 12 passes in the offensive zone, completing 8 of them for a rather mediocre 67% passing percentage. Of the 12 pass attempts, 17% or just 2 of them were to high or medium danger areas. Other than a nice backhand pass which led to Regina's first goal, he really didn't impress me much with his passing in this game. Finally, we come to the transition data. Bedard's numbers here are also kind of insane. Actually, they're quite insane. Again, I'm pretty confident in my work overall, but these numbers are absurd to the point where I probably did miss some transitions, which are boosting his involvement percentage here. Regardless, let's get into the numbers. We'll start with the defensive zone breakouts because those numbers are kind of reasonable. While he was on the ice, the Pats attempted 14 controlled zone exits, successfully completing 12 of them. Of those, Bedard was involved in 8 of the attempts and 7 of the successful transitions, meaning he was involved in approximately 57% of both the D-zone breakout attempts and the successful D-zone breakouts. That's still pretty high, but for a single game, certainly not unheard of. The offensive zone transition data is where things start to go off the charts. First of all, Regina attempted 25, count them 25 controlled offensive zone entries with Bedard on the ice. They were not dumping the puck in very often. That in itself is pretty crazy, but players with more ice time are obviously going to have more stuff happen with them on the ice. Of these 25 offensive zone entry attempts, the team completed 23 of them. Bedard was involved in 19 of the 25 attempts and 17 of the 23 completions for a 76 and 74% involvement rate, respectively. I have seen a player with this rate of involvement before, but that was a player who got very little ice time at 5-on-5 in that particular game, so it was a very small sample size. For Bedard to be this involved with this level of volume is unprecedented in my admittedly very short history of tracking stats. One thing to keep in mind here as well is that of the 24 total successful zone transitions Bedard made in this game, only 2 came on passes. The other 22 all came from him carrying the puck. This includes all 7 of his D-zone breakouts. I prefer to see players carry the puck in transition, so this is certainly a positive for him. If you enjoyed this statistical breakdown of Bedard's game, be sure to subscribe to my channel and to see more videos like this one, as well as a bunch of other fun stuff like rankings and mock drafts. Feel free to leave a comment. I try to respond to as many as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, have a nice day.